Good morning, everyone. My name is Nicole, and I'm the parent support worker for the Niagara Catholic District School Board EarlyON Child and Family Centers. I am here today for our weekly coffee and conversation in which all parents, grandparents, guardians, and caregivers are welcome. Our program topics revolve around ensuring that you feel well, confident, and present in your parenting and caregiving role. As always, if you are unable to sit with me now, you are welcome to warm up your coffee and sit with me at a later, more convenient time. Some news in regard to this: if you haven't seen it already, we now have a YouTube channel. This is where we will keep all of our video content organized by segment to help you find what you're looking for. So be sure to subscribe to this page and stay up to date with all of our videos. And if you've missed any of my prior coffee and conversations, you'll be able to easily find them in my coffee and conversation playlist. So that's awesome too. I will start off with my personal disclaimer for any new listeners. I have a master's degree in child and youth studies and a bachelor's degree in both child and youth studies and psychology. I come to this position with a lot of research and textbook experience, but I am not a parent myself. I may be here to share my professional knowledge and experience, but you are the expert on your children, and I seek out and value the knowledge and perspectives that you have. You are important contributors with unique knowledge, experiences, and strengths. For this reason, I want our weekly conversations to be collaborative, and that I hope to have the opportunity to learn from you as well. So I welcome all comments, ideas, and suggestions for weeks to follow. Always remember, if you feel uncomfortable sharing your thoughts in comment, then you're more than welcome to send us a direct message or an email as well. This week we will be making our very last connection to our pedagogy for learning, which is called How Does Learning Happen? We've covered connections between you and your child's well-being, engagement, sense of belonging, and finally today we will review you and your child's expression. So this week we will be talking about the importance in being heard and listening. And this week it will lead us nicely into our next section of coffee and conversation on emotional literacy and self-regulation. So first we will talk about your self-expression and understanding of your own emotions, along with some outlets for practicing self-expression. And then we will talk about why this tool is important to master for your developing mini to learn from. So what is self-expression and why is it important? I'll be using an article by Positive Psychology again to guide my conversation. Courtney A. Ackerman provided a quite simple definition of self-expression to be an expression of one's thoughts and feelings through words, choices, or actions. This is something that you subconsciously do multiple times within a day. The guidance I'll give later for your child's benefit will be very different because your child is still learning the foundations of self-expression. However, for you adults listening, you know what you feel, you likely know how to talk about it, and you probably have a pretty good sense of who you are. But there are a few things that we can talk about today that will enhance this self-expression for your own benefit. So self-expression skills include, but are not limited to, speaking, writing, body language, and of course, artistic endeavors. So this could be creating music, dancing, or those sorts of things. So you can utilize any of these venues to practice your self-expression, and I will give you some tips in a few minutes about different ways to practice this self-expression. But I think it is first important to touch on your ability to identify emotions in yourself. So in another article for Positive Psychology, Jeremy Sutton provided 4 ways to better understand your own emotions. These 4 steps include recognizing your emotional thoughts, ensuring self-compassion, talking about your feelings, and then reflecting and reappraising. So emotional thinking can be things like jumping to conclusions without all of the information, catastrophizing a situation through thought, or thinking irrationally. So for example, emotional thinking may influence you to assume the very worst case scenario when receiving a phone call from the babysitter or the daycare. Perhaps you were only getting a phone call to say that your child just said a very new word, but your emotional thinking might influence distress before even taking the chance to answer the phone. Self-compassion, as we talked about a couple weeks ago, ensures that you accept and honor both positive and negative emotions. So the importance of this piece in understanding your emotions is just to reflect on the fact that it is natural to feel negative emotions. For example, you are not alone in feeling fearful or frustrated with the current pandemic. That's something important to realize. Next, talking about your feelings is a key piece, especially when we think about this week's connection to our minis. So, as Jeremy Sutton referenced, discussing feelings and emotions is hugely beneficial. It restores a sense of control, provides perspective, and reduces the impact of stressors. So, talking about your feelings, either just with yourself or out loud for your minis to hear, will allow you to see things differently, reduce feelings of anxiety, rationalize events, and normalize all emotions. Finally, reflecting on and reappraising our emotions is an important component of understanding them. We should reflect on our experience earlier during that theoretical phone call. I could reflect on my immediate distress and realize that my response to that phone call was in fact emotional instead of logical. And then I could consider, okay, how could I have approached that situation differently, and what might I do instead in the future? Jeremy Sutton concluded by saying, each emotion has value. We should be able to maintain control over the behavior that it results in and keep balance in our lives. There are times to be angry, as there are times to be happy. And this is a super important thing to remember. It's that ability to recognize that all emotions are normal and all emotions will happen throughout our day. It's also important as anything to remember when discussing self-expression for your mini as well. You know, it's okay to feel the emotions. You're going to feel them, and it's also okay for your mini to feel these emotions as well. So now that we understand and accept our various emotions, what are some techniques for enhancing your self-expression skills? One of the general tips that Courtney E. Ackerman presented was to acquire self-knowledge. So this connects with our previous week's practices in slowing down and taking the time for yourself to reflect. And obviously, do your best to not let the daily bustle limit your ability to tune into your own wants and passions. There is this reoccurring theme throughout the weeks for all of these topics that really enforce you to take you time and focus on what's important for you. There are many ways to practice self-expression. I'm going to post a link provided by Positive Psychology that reviews some of the activities that you can practice or you can perform to practice your self-expression. One of these activities was called Gratitude and Wishes, in which you place things that you are grateful for within the tree roots of a tree, and then things you wish for within the branches. So this is quite similar to an activity that you might have done with your children, as provided by my colleagues, called the Thankful Tree. It's a very similar idea. While these are great ideas, it's not always exciting to someone who doesn't love crafts. So I want to provide you with an easy activity that you can do with yourself to help you begin to express the ways that you feel on the inside. So we can do this through journaling. It can be easier to see our deepest, complex thoughts on paper first before ever having to say them out loud. Writing things down might help you better understand what you are feeling and how you are best to express those feelings. So one thing some of my colleagues and I are trying to be better at is actually writing in what's called a gratitude journal. So Corey D. Miller wrote an article for Positive Psychology that listed the benefits in practicing gratitude. They included, but were not limited to, increased happiness and positive mood, more satisfaction with life, better sleep, greater resiliency, and it encourages the development of patience, humility, and wisdom. And in reference of a study done on gratitude writing, participants felt that it disconnected them from toxic negative emotions and the ruminating that often accompanies them. So that means the thoughts that are just reoccurring in your brain and kind of won't go away. So writing a letter shifted their attention so that their focus was on positive emotions. Alicia Norche wrote an article for Positive Psychology noting that the object of gratitude can vary, whether it be towards other people, living versus non-living objects, experiences, opportunities, or events. She presented some gratitude journal prompts to help you get started. I will share one with you now, but feel free to review the others in the link that I will attach below. Her advice as your first step to gratitude journaling is to purchase yourself a book dedicated to journaling. This is actually something that our coordinator here at the EarlyON Center did for us. So now I have this book that is to be strictly used for journaling. So she provided us with this book. It's an empty slate. It's something that I have that I will use strictly for writing down my thoughts. No work's going into here, nothing like that. It's just my thoughts. And then she also provided us with this amazing little book called the 3-Minute Morning and Evening Gratitude Journal. So it actually gives you prompts that you can fill out throughout the day, and it's something that I will link in the comments. But it allows you to write things down like, today I am grateful for, here's what would make today great, some amazing things that happened today. So it allows you to start your day fresh and end your day on a positive note. So those are really great resources to use. So then what you'll do next, as Alicia Norche mentioned, is that you will either write freely or follow specific prompts, either ones that you have available in your book, or things like, in the last week, what did someone else say to you that you are grateful for? It can be as simple as that. One comment for a week. It's something that you need to decide is good for yourself. So your journaling can also be a form of self-therapy as well if you are looking to de-stress and improve your mental well-being or mood. Either way, whatever you choose to journal about, you will likely be taking time to focus on your inner self and practicing that outward expression of what you're feeling on the inside, which is really the goal of what we're talking about today. So if you start practicing this self-expression through journaling, for example, is it only benefiting you? No, it will actually benefit your mini as well. So let's talk about why. First of all, our final foundation for How Does Learning Happen emphasizes the importance of expression. So this foundation reminds us that every child is a capable communicator who can express themselves in many ways, even before our minis are capable of communicating with us through word. They are capable, powerful, and active social partners with the ability to exchange other forms of communication. Listening, responding to, and building on their initiated conversation can enhance their language abilities, their social skills, empathetic understanding, and ability to pay attention. For these reasons, it's important to consider what type of communication you are having with your mini and what type of language you are encouraging. Having consistent and open dialogue about your emotions and self-expression will teach your minis a lot about these aspects of their own self. And even for those children who aren't yet communicating with us by words, you can validate their expressions through what we call serve and return. So conversations can occur even with the youngest infants or nonverbal children when adults are aware of their child's subtle cues and gestures, and when they respond by interacting in these serve and return exchanges. So responsiveness to their communication will begin to wire their brain for learning. And for those of you who are attending our infant massage with our ECE Diane, you have already begun this journey of understanding your baby's cues. You do this by repeating sounds and gestures that are initiated by the child. You follow the child's gaze, and you verbalize what you believe the child is communicating. In addition to practicing your own self-expression, you can offer your mini activities that will help them communicate their own self-expression as well. So one of these ways could just be through journaling with your mini about gratitude. I will also attach a resource below that you can use to help start this. If not this, then you should feel encouraged to just foster their ability to recognize and express their emotions, desires, perspectives, etc. A very simple change that you can make would be during playtime. So leave your child the space to explain to you how they are playing or what they are drawing, for example. So instead of saying, "Oh, wow, is that a flower? It's so beautiful," you can ask them, "Wow, what is that you've painted?" This has always been my absolute favorite part about working with kids is that they'll say the most interesting things that our imaginations just simply couldn't think of on our own. So giving them this space to express these ideas is crucial, and it will allow them that autonomy to self-express. So I think that's a good place to wrap up this week's Coffee and Conversation. As always, let's work together and support each other. All comments and suggestions are welcome, whether that's anonymous or not. Next week, our Coffee and Conversation will provide a recap of our previous weeks and the connections to how does learning happen. It will be a shorter chat, but it will be helpful for you to see how all of these wonderful things we've learned in the previous weeks come together for one message. Just a couple reminders for you. Later on today, my ECE colleague Diane will be posting more activities that you can perform with your Mindful Mini. In addition, we have our rock garden started in front of our center, and it's looking wonderful. We have a few extra rocks and it's really coming together. So today's a perfect day after the kids come home from school, or if you have nothing else to do today, find yourself a rock, paint yourself a poppy on it, and bring it to our center to join our rock garden and feel like you belong to our community here. It will be available for one more week, so if you'd like to take part in this, now is the time. Today is the perfect day. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your week, and I will talk to you soon.